We have already discussed in my previous lecture, we have discussed about what all are the secondary sexual changes among the boys and the girls which are there due to the production of the sexual hormones. For boys it is testosterone, and for girls it is estrogen and progesterone, which brings the secondary sexual changes. Right, we have already discussed about that. Today, we are going to discuss about the different parts of the reproductive organ. First, we will be discussing about the male, and then we will be discussing about the female. Let me tell you, there is the diagram, there is the image on your screen, which you can see that it's of the male reproductive organ. One by one, we are going to discuss about these reproductive organs. First of all, I will discuss about the reproductive organ which is known as testis or testicle. Now, what is the function of the testis? The function of testis organ is to produce the sperm, that is the male reproductive cells, and to produce the hormone that's called as testosterone. As I've told you, the testosterone is responsible for the secondary sexual changes among the boys. Right? Now, there is the sperms. These are the male sex cells. Right? Now, another you can say, so the main function is to produce the male sex cell, that is sperm, and another function is to produce the hormone, that is testosterone. Let me tell you, this testis lies in a sac-like structure, what you are seeing on your screen. This is what we call as scrotum. This sac-like structure, where my cursor is pointing out, where my cursor is there, you can see here, this sac-like structure, it lies outside the abdominal cavity, and this is known as scrotum. Right? Now, what's the function of scrotum? It's a small pouch-like structure where there is the presence of testis. Somehow, within this pouch lies the testis. Okay? It lies outside the abdominal cavity. There is a reason for it. The reason for lying the scrotum outside the abdominal cavity is that the sperm production requires 2 to 2.5 degree Celsius less temperature than the normal body temperature. So that is why the scrotum lies outside the abdominal cavity. Then these testes, these sperms, the male reproductive cells need to carry out from the body. Now, how they are carried out? We have this is the track through which they travel out from the male body. Now, what is this track known as? This track is known as vas deferens, is the sperm duct through which the sperm travel outside the body. Right? Outside, you can see that there are certain glands in the vas deferens. Here you can see there is the two glands. One is seminal vesicle gland, which produce which produce the secretion, and they ultimately drain their secretion in the vas deferens. There is the secretions are going to be produced from the glands, that's the prostate gland, the seminal vesicle gland, even there is the Cowper's gland, which provide the secretion, and they drain their secretion in the vas deferens. Now, what is the use of this secretion which is being generated by the three glands? These secretions are the white, viscous, milky fluid. It contains lot of nutrients, so that the nutrients will be passed on to the sperms, right? The nutrients can go so that the sperm can stay alive. Because it's a cell, it requires nutrient. The nutrients are being provided by the secretion from the glands like prostate gland, seminal vesicle gland, and Cowper's gland, right? First is to provide the nutrient to this sperm. Second function of this secretion is to help in the smooth movement of the sperm. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for sperm to travel, right? In the vas deferens, it's the secretion from these three which help in the proper movement of the sperm. Then ultimately, there, here where my cursor is lying, there is the you can say connection between the vas deferens and the urethra. Urethra is the duct through which the urine move out from the body, right? So here in the vas deferens ultimately ends in urethra. So the passage through which the sperms and the urine, there's a common duct. It's a common duct. There is a common passage for the urine as well as for the sperm to flow out from the body of the male, right? Then the urethra pass through a muscular organ, and this muscular organ is made up of erectile tissues. This is known as penis. It's highly soft and highly sensitive gland, right? Now, if we discuss about the structure of sperm, the structure of sperm has been designed in such a way that it helps in the traveling of, you can see there is the diagram which is there on your screen also, and I am going to make it on the board also. I am going to draw it, draw it on the board also, that you can see there in the sperm there is the head-like structure, and mid-piece, and there is the tail-like structure. Is the tail which keeps on wagging, which keeps on moving, which keeps on wagging, which help in the movement of sperm, which help the sperm to travel a lot of distance, because sperm has to travel a lot of distance from testis. It has to travel whole lot of distance of, it has to cover the whole sperm duct, that's vas deferens. Then it has to move through urethra. Then it has to, if it enters into the vagina, then from the vagina it will go into the cervix. Through the cervix it will go into the uterus, and then through the uterus it reaches up to the oviduct. But let me tell you, to travel such a large distance, the sperm has been designed in such a manner that there is the head-like structure and the tail structure which keeps on wagging, so that it will travel this distance. I hope that this much is quite clear to you. Is there any question? In the next slide, I am going to show you the female reproductive system. Let me discuss about the female reproductive system, the different parts of the female reproductive system. The various parts of the female reproductive system are, first of all, there is this where my cursor is lying. You can see the ovary. There is the pair of ovaries. Each human female contain pair of two almond shaped ovary, which is located in the lower part of the abdominal cavity near the kidney. Each ovary is connected by a ligament to the uterus. You can see that there is the connection between the uterus and ovary. This is the ligament which provide the connection between the uterus and ovary. The ovary are the primary sex organ which has the function of ovary is to produce female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. It's the estrogen which brings the secondary sexual changes among the girls, and progesterone which controls the menstrual cycle, right? Then let me tell you, every month thousands of eggs are being produced by the ovary, but it's the only one egg which is getting fertilized. I have told you that then there is the presence of the tubular structure which is known as fallopian tube. It's a long muscular tube-like structure. You know, it's just like the hand-like structure which is present over the ovary just to catch up the egg. And every month either of the one of the ovary is going to produce the egg for the fertilization, right? It has this the fallopian tube has this funnel shaped opening through which the egg enter into the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube is also known as oviduct. Let me tell you, there is the one of the important function of oviduct is that it's the site of fertilization, where there is the fusion between the male gamete and female gamete. Here is the fusion between the male gamete. It is this place, it is in the oviduct where there is the fusion between the male gamete and the female gamete. Let me tell you, if the egg reaches in the uterus and up to that time it has not come in the contact of the sperm, then no fertilization will take place, because fertilization of the egg take place only in the
ला दो भाई टमाटर बना दूं.
yes. So we were discussing about the reproductive part, which is known as oviduct. It's the site of sexual reproduction. It's the site of reproduction in the human female, right? Then there is the pear-shaped structure. This pear-shaped structure is known as uterus. It's, if I talk about that, this is the ligament which is attached with the ovary. Then over the ovary there is the hand-like structure or the funnel-shaped structure, that's oviduct. And here at the oviduct there is the pear-shaped structure which is known as uterus. Is the hollow pear-shaped structure, the bag-like structure. Once the fertilized egg, that is the zygote, travel to the uterus, it gets implanted into the uterine walls, right? The zygote gets implanted in the uterine walls. The zygote develops into embryo, and embryo develop into the fetus in this pear-shaped organ which is known as uterus, right? At the end of this is the uterus. At the end of the uterus there is the small narrow opening. Small narrow opening. This opening we call as cervix, and it's the lower and the narrow part which provide the connection between the vagina and the uterus. Now here you can see where the cursor is showing that there is the vagina, that's the opening or the opening of the birth canal from which the birth of baby take place. It's the vagina through which the sperm enter into the body of the female. Through the vagina, this opening, the cells, the male sex cell enter into the body of the female, then travel through the cervix, through the uterus, up to the oviduct where the fertilization will take place. But before we discuss about the fertilization, we have to understand that why the shape of the cell of human female, that is almost circular in shape with a prominent nucleus. Let me tell you, like we have already discussed about the shape of sperm, it has been designed in such a way that it has to travel a lot of distance. So it has been designed in sleek manner. Now here in ova, it has to provide nutrition once the zygote develops. It has to provide the nutrition once the zygote develops. It means that once the sperm fuses the ovum, then once the sperm fuses the ovum to form the zygote and to provide the nutrition to the zygote so that the multiplication of the cells will take place, it is this egg which is filled with the nutrients. Why it is filled with the nutrients? So as to provide the nutrition to the zygote, so that the zygote keeps on multiplication and then it will move into the uterus. Now what happens during the fertilization? How the fertilization take place? I have during the copulation, when the sperm enter into the vagina, through the vagina it moves into the cervix. As I told you that it's the small opening. Here you can say vagina, then there is the cervix, is the small narrow passage which ends up into a pear-shaped structure, right? Ends up in a pear-shaped structure, that's uterus, and there it ends. At the last, it has to ultimately reach to the fallopian tube. What you see on your screen, you can see that there is the ligament through which it is attached with the body, to the ovary is attached to the uterus. It's this ligament. Every month ovary will produce the egg and the egg is going to be caught up by the fallopian tube. Then through the fallopian tube, fallopian tube or the oviduct. Now, if the sperm travels, I have told you that once the human female receives, it receives millions, because one drop of sperm contains millions of sperm. But all the sperm will not reach to the oviduct. It is only one sperm which will win the race and will, through the vagina, through the cervix, passing through the uterus, ultimately reaches to the oviduct. It is only one out of the millions of sperms which reaches to the oviduct, and here in the oviduct, if the egg is present, there will be the fusion between the male gamete and the female gamete to produce the zygote. Once sperm fuses with the egg, it forms a zygote. Now what will happen? This zygote will travel back here in the, you can say, 8 cell stage, then this is this zygote will travel back into the uterus and will get implanted into the utrinal walls. Here the zygote will take up the nutrition through a disc-shaped structure which is known as placenta. Here in this diagram you can see, which is there on your screen, this disc-like structure where my cursor is pointing, this disc-like structure is called as placenta. It provide the nutrition to the human baby. It provides the nutrition to the human baby, right? So it is this way the fertilization. Over the period of the time, the zygote will multiply to form the embryo. Then embryo will develop a umbilical cord with the placenta so that the nutrients and even the waste will move out from the body of the fetus to the placenta, right? This is how the fertilization take place. The gestation period will be that of the 9 months. That is that period through which the zygote develops into the proper human fetus. The gestation period is nearly 9 months. Once the 9 months are over, the baby is going to born through the, you can say, the birth canal. So I hope that I was discussing about that the pregnancy, how it occurs, that once the fertilization take place, the zygote fix itself on the walls of the uterus, and this fixation is what we call as implantation, after which it start to develop into the embryo. So this is the beginning where the development of the embryo is attached to the female uterus is through a disc-shaped structure which is known as placenta. As I've told you that the placenta is provides the passage for the glucose, amino acids and oxygen and other useful material from the mother's body to the embryo. Once the fertilization has taken place and the zygote has got fixed into the uterine walls, ovulation and menstruation will stop occurring. And during the development of the fetus inside the uterus, for the human, the period is nearly of 9 months, and this period is known as gestation period.